Hey, everybody. I am hoping to do a good job for you guys here tonight. In the meantime, I am looking to set up my podcast situation here as well. So hopefully, this is going to be done easily. I hope, I think. I pray. So, I am not a professional broadcaster by no means, and this is just little old me. I am a psychic medium, healer, and life advisor, is what I am. So, I'm not an actress or a broadcaster in any way, shape, or form. So, forgive me for anything that I may be saying. Forgive me for anything that I may be saying or doing wrong. So let me just repeat that little part again, because I'm on YouTube and my podcast at the same time. And anytime you have a question, just feel free to chime in, like it says on the message. So I'm not a broadcaster. I am not a professional actress. I'm just Psychic Christine Wallace. I have over 30 years experience giving life advice, helping people through all kinds of problems. And that's what these videos and podcasts are all about. I wanted to have a way to share whatever knowledge I have with others to help them improve their lives without, having a one-on-one reading necessarily. It's always best to have a one-on-one reading. Let me put that out there because, of course, it's specific to you. But here are some general advices and guidance that I can give you that I have learned, some of the mistakes that people make in life because of my work over 30 years working as a psychic. So, one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and the name of this podcast episode or video is the blame game. And when we're not in a good state or in a good situation in our lives, or we're not where we dreamed we would be at this time in our lives, sometimes we can feel angry, negative, bad, we're not in a good place, basically. We're frustrated and we start to think about, why am I not where I thought I would be at this time in my life? Who is to blame? You know? And then we start to think about all kinds of people that have come in and out of our lives, and some of them are still in our lives. For example, our parents, they're always, number one on the target list of who's to blame. there's those people. The parents, that long-term relationship that we had with someone that we wasted so many years on, that we could have done so much better with that time, and this person ended up pulling the rug under us just when we were so invested in the relationship at the time. And well, those are just a couple of examples, and of course there are more, like that job, that terrible job that we worked so hard at, and they just made our lives miserable, whether it be a coworker or a boss or whatever. But I've noticed that so many of us are looking out. We're always looking out because I guess our eyeballs are in our head and our vision is kind of outward all the time. And what is I know to be a good, healthy way to move forward is to start, stop looking at all the other people and start putting the lens back on ourselves. like taking a real good look at ourselves in the mirror. And at the end of the day, subconsciously, we're really the most angry with ourselves. Okay? We are so mad, so much more angry at ourselves than we are at anybody else. Okay? And the one that we're finding the most struggle forgiving is us. And we waddle around in life, like I said, blaming this person, blaming that person. We got shortchanged here and whatever, whatever. But at the end of the day, who are we upset with? We're mad at ourselves for falling for it. We're mad at ourselves for, not seeing where it was all headed. We're mad at ourselves for not setting boundaries. We're so mad at ourselves for not getting to where we wanted to be by now. Okay? And having the life that we dreamed of when we were kids. We're so angry. We thought we'd be in such a better place in our lives, whether it be with money, or we thought we'd be settled down and married by now, or I thought I'd have 10 kids by now. Whatever your goals or aspirations have been years ago that you thought you would have had by now, you're mad at yourself for not getting there by now. And what we end up doing is eating ourselves alive. And this is where all of the negative, intrusive thoughts are coming from. Yeah, those negative, intrusive thoughts, dang. They consume our mind. Take out a moment of your time and just think to yourself how you're speaking to yourself in your head. Sometimes it's, if you pay close attention, sometimes it's not even your voice that you're hearing. It might sound like your mother or your father, or maybe it does sound like your boss, or maybe it is your voice. But regardless of the voice that you're hearing, but that's an important observation. Whose voice am I hearing? Because that is saying something. Our biggest critic, our worst critic, maybe, which is usually ourselves. We're our worst critic, that's for sure. And what kind of negative, intrusive thoughts am I talking about? I'm talking about, why didn't I say that when that person said that to me? You know, maybe I'm really not good enough. Maybe this person really doesn't like me. Maybe the next relationship that I have is going to be just like the last one. Uh, Bottom line, you sound to yourself like a person that really doesn't like yourself and is kind of punishing yourself and not forgiving yourself. See, forgiveness is the key. Now, how are we, or how can we, because people make it sound so easy, you got to forgive people, because if you're not forgiving people, you're eating your own you're giving yourself poison. And forgive, 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 forgive. And it's not that easy to do. And a lot of us say that we forgive others, but we really don't mean it. Okay, so what do you feel like when you mean it? You feel like this ball and chain has been cut off of you. That's what real forgiveness of another person feels like. You feel like you've been let go of by an evil captor, basically. Um, but I imagine it's going to be super hard to forgive other people, especially if we haven't been able to master forgiving ourselves. Okay. And a lot of us reflect on our past, based on the information we have now, not on the people that we were at the time, which is really not fair to yourself because, 2020 is hindsight, they say. So I know that to be true, but you have to remember who you were then and what you were thinking then or how you were feeling then, because you're probably not the same person you used to be, especially if you've gone through so many trials and tribulations over the years, over your lifetime. I mean, think about it. And with self forgiveness for being human, it feels like a really big, it feels freeing. It feels like freedom. And you're able to breathe and you're able to be kinder to yourself. And this is when the real self love comes in. A lot of people get confused about what self love is. And I love to talk about that. I've done so many podcasts on the topic of self love and what it means. It means being fair with yourself. You know, the person that we have the worst relationship with is probably ourselves, you know, because I think that we are definitely nicer to other people, friendlier with other people, have more consideration for other people, prioritize other people than we do ourselves. I'm not telling you even to do more for yourself than you do for other people, but at least let it be the same. I mean, think about for a moment the way you speak to yourself and imagine you speaking to someone else the way that you speak to yourself. Think about how much you criticize yourself. I mean, would you ever speak to another person like that or judge a person as harshly as you judge yourself? And are you like, and I feel like, when we judge other people, we're not trying to be nice by not being harsh. We just are really judging people the way that we judge people in our own minds even is much kinder still than we are to ourselves. Now, let's imagine for a moment getting back to self-love. Let's imagine that you were your own child, because in a way you are, in a sense, because you're responsible for taking care of yourself, right? You are your responsibility. You're not anybody else's responsibility as an adult. We're out in the world on our own, and we have to watch ourselves, protect ourselves, take care of ourselves. So imagine if you were your own child and reflecting on your history. Are you being fair to yourself when you judge your mistakes? If that was your kid, how would you honestly judge yourself? Weren't you in reality trying to make things work, trying to accommodate, trying to be kind, trying to be nice, trying to be honest? When did this suddenly become a bad thing? Okay, so you were mistreated by someone, some bad stuff happened, and I don't mean to make it sound like it wasn't that big of a deal. I'm sure it was a very big deal. But how did you suddenly take the bad deeds that the other person did and turn that around and make it your fault. Think about it. Is that not what you're doing on some level? I mean, the least you can do if you are going to judge or criticize yourself, just be honest with yourself at least. Okay? Don't jump to conclusions about yourself without giving yourself a fair trial in your own head. I hope you guys are really getting the gist of what I'm trying to say here. And I think you do. Sometimes I go a little bit around the world to try to get my point across, but that's because, like I said, I'm not a professional actress, broadcaster. I'm just a person that has 30 years experience working, or over 30 years, over 30 years working for people as a psychic healer and advisor. Okay? I've been doing this for many years, and I have made a whole lot of observations about many of the same traps that we all fall into that take a permanent seat in our lives and take us over and overwhelm us. Sometimes we got to take a step back and think to ourselves, who is it exactly that we're trying to please? You know, why do we feel this need to always prove ourselves? Stop. Just stop and breathe. Okay, so I do have a little breathing exercise that I'd like for you guys to get into with me. So please just follow this. Breathe in positive energy through your nose. Exhale negative energy from your mouth. Let's do that one more time. Positive going in. Negative energy going out from the mouth. One more time. Inhale. Positive energy. Exhale negative energy. Relax. Take a step back. Stop allowing other people to influence you as much as you do. Stop putting everybody on a pedestal in your mind and putting yourself so low, okay? This is a message to the people that have been kind, that have been honest, that have been genuine, that have been a good friend, a supporter, a cheerleader, okay? The people that are trying to do the right thing, the good thing, the godly thing. At the end of the day, who is God? What is God? Many of us have this picture in our mind, like when I was a young kid, I imagined that God looked like Zeus with a long silver beard. Okay, and his thunderbolt. But as an adult, when I really had an opportunity to understand the stuff that I was reading about God and different religions, and took in all of this information, I came to the conclusion, and this is to whether you believe in a God or the Christian God or whatever God you have in your mind, God is good. Anything that's good comes from God. Anything that isn't good and doesn't feel good is not coming from God. This is coming from the enemy. The enemy can take many forms. Sometimes the enemy, like going over this with all of my watchers and listeners right now, sometimes the enemy can look a lot like us, okay? Sometimes The enemy is hunger, poverty, uh, not feeling good, not feeling at rest, feeling sad, depression. None of this is coming from God, because what God is good. God is happiness. God is joy. God is healing. God has a purpose. God is sane. Okay? So this is the message for my listeners and viewers right now. And I am sending you lots of love and lots of light and wishing you all the very best of luck in your journey, in your life's journey moving forward. And if you feel that any of this is resonating with you and you need some one on one help, please don't hesitate to call me 855 70 Tarot, TAROT, like tarot cards. Again, 855 70 Tarot. Wishing you all the very best of luck. Namaste.